It's that time of the week. We're going to get to talk to college football czar Phil Steele, getting his thoughts on this week's Coal Rush versus TCU and some of the other matchups in the Big 12 and Top 25 here today on ITG.
You are now watching Believe.
ITG.
With special guest, Phil Steele.
Author of the College Football Bible.
He can see things before they happen. It's a Jedi trait.
All you gotta do is bet on the winner and you'll never lose.
Mountaineer Nation.
You are In the Gun.
Hey, a real pleasure being on. Thanks for having me on the In the Gun podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of ITG. I'm Schuyler Callihan. I've got the signal caller with me. We'll get to Phil Steele here in just a bit. But before we do, we're going to make our Big 12 picks for the week and recap the fans' picks from last week as well. But also, we got to make sure we give a special thank you to all of our presenting sponsors, beginning first with fine folks at Toothman Ford. We all know cars cost less in Grafton. Go check out what they've got going on for your vehicular needs. And to Fortis for roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed. Be sure to visit fortis.us.com. To the fine folks at Johnston Equipment, go check out what they have going on. That's between Weston and Buchanan, Route 33. You can also check out their website. That's johnstoneq.com. That's Johnston with a T. And to the latest addition to the ITG family, the Book Exchange. Be sure to check out all of the Coal Rush gear that they have going on. I know it's we've got basketball season coming around, like Wes mentioned last night, so they've got some basketball gear you might want to cop. So go see what they have there, and be sure to use that In the Gun 20 code to get your 20% discount. So, all right, Jed, let's go ahead and get into our Big 12 picks, and maybe let's go with you first. See what you got cooking up for us this week in the passing offense. What do you have for us this week?
I tinkered with a couple. I looked at Kansas in the Sunflower rivalry game with K-State. I considered that. But even BYU on the road, this is a dangerous environment for them at Jack Trice Stadium against Iowa State. But those Iowa State corners are down. I thought about going with BYU, even though I think they might get knocked off. I'll be interested to hear what Phil has to say about that. But when in doubt, go with the Baylor Bears, the Fighting Spavitals. They're on the road. I like that they're on the road against Cincinnati. So that's a game that I think Cincinnati can keep scoring with them. So they need to keep throwing. So that's what I'm going with Baylor.
So Baylor it is, and then we're going to go and give O and Wes's picks here. So Big O will go with the mighty Mountaineers. So he's going to go with West Virginia against TCU this week, and for the rushing offense of the week in the Big 12. And then Wes is going to go with Utah, who has Colorado. So he believes they'll be able to stifle that Colorado offense, which obviously has not been as explosive as it was a year ago with Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and Jimmy Horn. So I definitely think that's a pretty solid pick there for Wes. And then for me, man, I'll be honest, Jed. I really was this close to going with TCU because I mean TCU's just their offense is just humming, and obviously with the issues we've had defensively, but I just can't do it, and I can't do it just yet. Maybe I'll pick against West Virginia at some point, but I can't do it right now. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's 38.5-point favorites.
Yeah, take the low-hanging fruit here with the best team in the Big 12 against the worst team, and go with Texas Tech putting up potentially 100 on the Cowboys. So, yeah.
Don't blame you. So, meanwhile, to round this out, let's take a look at how the listeners and viewers did last week. We did have some listeners and viewers get a couple right. We had Adam from Denver, Colorado, pick Cincinnati to score the most points. They got that correct. Adam did. Good job, Adam. We had Kevin from Harmony, North Carolina, pick UCF to hold the opposition to the fewest points. Unfortunately, he got that right, West Virginia. So Kevin from Harmony, good job. We had Mike from Shady Springs, friend of the program, Mike Vest, pick Cincinnati to score the most points. Correct. We had Ben Petrie or Petrie. Sorry, if I'm mispronouncing your name. One or the other from Charleston picked Cincinnati, and then Waylon from Morgantown. Look at that, Waylon.
Hey,
Okay, Owen's boy there, but that's Owen's son's name, by the way. If
yeah.
you listen to the show, you probably know that by now. But he picked Cincinnati. Good job, Waylon from Morgantown. So those are this week's correct answers from listeners. Again, you can go to the pinned post on X and join the fun and try and beat us. Nobody has gotten all four right so far this year. None of us, none of our
Hmm.
viewers. It's tricky to do. Uh,
We've had it,
so
maybe
anyway,
once or
that's
twice?
correct.
Once or
It's
twice in
happened
the history of
once
ITG?
last year. Our listener from Australia.
That's
last
right.
year.
From
Our
down
viewer
under.
from Australia. Yeah, from down under. So tough to do, but good job.
Yeah, and also make sure to go back and watch the preview show and take part in the 1965 question as well. Leave 3 separate comments in that YouTube video to get your lottery tickets for the throwback helmet, which will be given away at the end of the year, thanks to the fine folks at the Book Exchange. So do that every single week. I know last week we accidentally kind of skipped over it, but that's okay. We got too deep into a preview, but that's going to happen. But yeah, we got that for you this week, so make sure you go and do that and get your lottery tickets. So, all right, hang tight. On the other side, we are going to get Phil Steele in the building to talk about the Mountaineers, the Frogs, and a whole bunch of other games around college football this weekend here on ITG.
For nearly 20 years, Fortis has been the nation's leader in providing guaranteed roof performance programs for commercial buildings. Fortis offers roof performance solutions that feature extensive initial and ongoing reconditioning for commercial buildings as an alternative to traditional replacement, with long-term performance guarantees that are backed by global leader Lloyd's of London. Fortis offers a comprehensive range of roof performance management programs that provide financial security, extend the life of our customers' roofs, and make a significant impact on ROI. Fortis is currently improving performance and increasing ROI for customers at more than 4,800 locations, with more than 140 million square feet protected, including many Fortune 500 companies that have turned to Fortis to save money, gain financial certainty, and extend the life of their existing roofs. Fortis has helped customers save more than $520 million in capital roof replacement costs for an average ROI of over 250%. To learn more, visit fortis.us.com. Fortis, roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed.
Nobody supports the blue and gold Mountaineers like Toothman Ford. With over 20 NIL deals and counting, Toothman Ford continues to rally behind our student athletes. And it's time we rally and support the dealer that supports the Mountaineers. Not only does Toothman Ford offer the best prices in the state on pre-owned, their never over MSRP campaign on new Fords guaranteed to save you thousands. Drive with pride all season long, knowing you're supporting the dealer that fuels our Mountaineers. Toothman Ford, where cars cost less, in Grafton and at toothmanford.com.
Back in the gun, and we have the man of the hour. It is Phil Steele back here on ITG. He's going to talk a lot about the Big 12, top 25, and of course we'll round things out with West Virginia and TCU. Phil, glad to have you back here on the program this week.
Hey, a real pleasure. How you guys doing?
Doing great. And as obviously before we get started, make sure to go ahead and promote anything that you have going on over at the website.
I appreciate that, Schuyler. You can take the Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections. It's up and available right now. You get 5 selections. You get 6 quick hitters and even an NFL play. Last week, once again, the selections went 4-2. We're 1 play away from being 5-1 with Michigan State kicking a late field goal. Doggone it. The quick hitters are 14-4 the last 4 weeks. And the NFL play won last week easily with Cleveland over Miami. It's all free. Just go to philsteele.com. Click on the front menu right there, and you'll see the Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections.
And with that, let's get started in the top 25. It's an SEC matchup between 2 6-1 teams. It's Ole Miss at Oklahoma. John Mateer really hasn't seemed to be the same player since he returned from his injury, but it feels like just a matter of time before he gets back to that. Phil, I got to ask you, too, with all this stuff and all this conversation about Lane Kiffin and the potential Florida job, do you think any of that outside noise starts to creep in and distract this team as they head into Norman?
Seems like every year it happens at Ole Miss, doesn't it, with the Kiffin rumors? So I think maybe they're used to it by now. I can tell you that it seemed to impact Nebraska last week.
Yes.
Matt ruled the Penn State, and all of a sudden Nebraska was a no-show against Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see if it has an impact. But even if it doesn't have an impact, I do like the Sooners here. When you look at Oklahoma, I love their defense. They're holding opponents to 141 yards per game below their average, 29 sacks this year. They're at home. They're fired up, playing with revenge. And I think you're going to see John Mateer get better and better each week. Also, like the way they're starting to run the football. They ran for 171 yards last week against South Carolina. Ole Miss on the road hasn't been quite the same team. You look at them at home, they've been pretty good. But, last week it was a great first three quarters, not a good fourth quarter. I think teams are catching on to Trinidad Chambliss a little bit. And I think Oklahoma's got plenty of scouting on that. So I just think Oklahoma's the better team at home. I like the Sooners minus the points. And I tell you what, they got to get this one. You look at the rest of the schedule for these two teams. Ole Miss is playing South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State. Oklahoma is playing Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. So it's sort of a must-win game for Oklahoma, and I like the Sooners in this one.
Still sticking in the SEC for a couple more here, a top 15 matchup. Missouri, after surviving that near miss against Auburn last week, an overtime win at number 15, comes in at 6-1 against one of the great Cinderella stories of college football this season. Number 10 ranked Vandy at home yet again. We talked about this last week. They were a slight favorite at home against LSU. What do you see playing out this time around as a slight favorite against the Missouri Tigers?
Yeah, I'm not going against Diego Pavia again. I mean, this guy is incredible. He's hitting 70%, 15-5 ratio, team's leading rusher, and he just wills this team to victory each and every week. The only loss all year was to a very good Alabama team on the road, and maybe it was closer than the final score. Alabama got a late touchdown. Now, Missouri used a very soft early schedule. They had 6 straight home games, 5 of them very winnable, all at home. And now it's sort of catching up to them a little bit. Last week, Auburn led by 7 in the fourth quarter. Missouri needed a touchdown to tie it and then won it in overtime. So as much as I like Missouri's defense and as good as Bo Perbula has looked, Ahmad Hardy looked like a Heisman candidate. But the last 2 weeks, Hardy has combined for 36 carries, and he has just 108 yards. That's only about 3 yards a carry. A big drop-off from the 7 or 8 yards per carry he had against that soft early schedule. So I like Vanderbilt. And, when I talked to Clark Lee after spring practice was over this year, he was a highly confident dude. Not Alabama or not Vanderbilt's going to be competitive, but that we can contend in the SEC, and they sure look like it at this point. I like Vanderbilt.
Bill, another one in the SEC. Number 3, Texas A&M on the road at LSU. Number 20. This has been a fun back and forth series over the last handful of years. I believe the home teams won every game dating back to 2017. So in that retrospect, I mean, I guess you look at LSU here, but Texas A&M coming in playing really well. What do you see happening here between the Tigers and the Aggies?
Well, everybody's knocking A&M's defense because they gave up 527 yards to Arkansas, but Arkansas did have a 98-yard drive for a touchdown with like 3 seconds left to go in the game. So some of those yards were late, some of those points were late, and I still think A&M has a really good defense. I do give LSU a slight edge defensively coming into the game, but offensively, to me, clearly the edge goes to A&M, especially along the offensive line. When you look at A&M, when I talked to Mike Elko last year, going over his team, he said, Phil, we've got a middle-of-the-road offensive line in the SEC. This year, he said, we've got one of the top offensive lines in the SEC, a Joe Moore Award contender, and they're averaging 5 yards per carry and only allowed 7 sacks all year. LSU's offensive line's had a tough time establishing the run, keeping Nussmeier protected. So I think a big edge offensive line, A&M. But, it's Death Valley at night for crying out loud, and LSU's backs are to the wall. So the better team is A&M. The situation favors LSU. I'm going to consider this a toss-up game at this point.
Well, let's head to the Big 12 and the Sunflower Showdown in the state of Kansas. You have Kansas State on the road against the Jayhawks in Lawrence. Both teams coming off a bye. I bet Kansas State kind of wishes they could have kept humming. They had the big win over TCU going into the bye. Meanwhile, I think Kansas, on the flip side, is glad they had the bye. That was after that tough loss at Texas Tech, physical kind of beatdown. Here's the couple things I'm looking at here. Jalen Daniels has quietly strung together a really good season, 18 touchdowns against just 2 picks. Meanwhile, Kansas State trying to turn a corner. Seems like they're playing Chris Kleiman style football finally, running it a little more, winning the turnover battle. They're number 1 in the Big 12 with a +6 margin. What do you see playing out in the rivalry game here in Lawrence?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game, and a lot depends on the health of Dylan Edwards, who missed last game against TCU. But when I look at these teams, Kansas State's a different team after that bye. They were hurt by the whole Ireland thing, but you look at that Baylor game; they were basically a missed field goal away from winning the game, or a missed Baylor field goal. Had Baylor missed their field goal, K-State would have won. And had they won that game, you'd be talking about a team that's 3-0 after the bye with an impressive win over TCU. So this is a dangerous K-State team, but Kansas is at home. They've got the refurbished stadium. And as you mentioned, Jalen Daniels quietly, 18 touchdown passes, just 2 interceptions this year. And you go back to last year's game, I really liked Kansas State in that one. I thought they were going to crush Kansas, and Kansas almost beat them. And 2 years ago, Kansas was down to their number 3 quarterback and almost beat them. One of these years, they're going to break through. I think maybe this is it. I'm going to side with Kansas. Kansas State's going to be very dangerous. In fact, watch out next week when they play Texas Tech at home, but we'll talk about that next week. But I'm going to lean a little bit with Kansas in this one, but Kansas State's much better than they showed at the start of the year when they were recovering from that Ireland trip.
A lot on the line for this next one, Phil. We've got Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, and by a lot on the line, I mean the spread. It's 38.5 at this point. Pretty chunky number. Obviously, this is not a game Oklahoma State's going to win, but what do you think plays out in terms of the point differential? Does Texas Tech cover the huge number?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State's now 2-14 against the spread their last 16 games. So you sort of have to go against them. They really are struggling at the quarterback position. You look at their quarterbacks, they've got their top 3 QBs have 2 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. Texas Tech is a different animal. Now, Baron Morton missed last week's game, but Will Hammond really had a good fourth quarter against Utah. That game was 10-10 when he came off the bench and led Texas Tech to 24 points. And last week he struggled early against Arizona State, then seemed to catch on. So even if it is Will Hammond, they are just so much the better team here. Oklahoma State's defensive front 7, very beatable. They're weak against the run and weak against the pass. Texas Tech, dominant defensive front 7, dominant defense overall, and the opponent's 103 yards below their average. And Texas Tech will put some points on the board late if they can. So I'm going to lay the points here in this one. I like Texas Tech minus the points.
We got an interesting matchup here with Baylor on the road at a very hot Cincinnati team. I assume what you're going to say, and looking at this quarterback matchup, when you look at what Sawyer Robertson's been able to do, when you look at what Brendan Sorsby's been able to do, only one pick all year. You have a pair of defenses, Baylor 11th in the league against the pass, Cincinnati 13th in the league against the pass. Something tells me you might want to take the over in this one.
Yeah, and they have priced it high at 67.5, but you hit it clearly on the head. I mean, Baylor's allowing teams 77 yards per game above their average. So you come in averaging, let's say, 400 yards per game. You're going to get 477 against Baylor. But in the same token, Cincinnati's allowing teams 54 yards above their average. And you've got 2 explosive offenses, as you touched on, Jed, with Sawyer Robertson and Brendan Sorsby. And you look at Cincinnati, they've got a couple of Big Ten running backs in Evan Pryor and Taywan Walker. Bryson Washington has been the feature back, but last year a couple of freshmen started to emerge in Caden Knight and Michael Turner. Those 2 guys actually outrushed Washington last week, and that's what's really been the missing piece for Baylor. Remember, if you go back to Baylor last year, they had a 2-headed running back in Washington and Pendergrass. Now they might have a 3-headed running back, so I think they're going to be really potent. Tough to go against either of these 2 teams here, so even though the number is 67.5, I agree with you 100%, Jed. I like the over.
Colorado at Utah. The Utes have dropped 2 of their last 4, and so this is a must-win game for them if they want to hang in the Big 12 title race. Obviously, the BYU loss last week, a heartbreaker. You look at the last 4 games, though, Phil. I mean, they lost to Texas Tech. I know that the game got away from them late, and then they took care of business against West Virginia. Then they get Arizona State without Sam Leavitt, and then they lose to BYU. So where is their headspace right now, and does the BYU game trip them up again this week against Colorado?
I think if you go back to last week's game, it probably shows you the confidence that Whittingham had in his team against BYU. Because for the game, I mean, they had a 470 to 368 yard edge, but their problem was they kept going for it on 4th down deep in BYU territory, and they got stopped 3 times. Kick 1 field goal, game different. Score a touchdown, game different. But they got stopped all 3 times. But he felt so confident in his offensive line. They've got 2 first-round draft picks on the line. Now, Devin Dampier got banged up in the game. He may even miss this game. But I do like Bird Ficklin, and I do think Utah overall is the better team, both offensively and defensively, especially at the line of scrimmage. Love their defensive line, love the offensive line. So with or without Dampier, I like Utah minus the points in this one.
Well, Houston's still not getting much love. Unranked at 6-1 on the road against number 24 Arizona State. The Devils, of course, coming off that huge win and knocking off Texas Tech last week. Arizona State doesn't strike you as the type of program that's going to have a hangover after a big win. Two salty defenses. I like what Relique Brown has added to the ground. Cam Scatabo was off to the Giants. You thought there was going to be a big void in that Arizona State run game. Relique Brown stepped up as the number 2 rusher in the league, but isn't Sam Levitt the difference in a game like this? I think it's like 6.5 the line the Sun Devils are given.
Yeah, I thought last night when I looked at it, it was 7.5 because that would
be right.
I think Arizona State's going to win this game, but I think it'll be a good game. Yeah, it's 7.5, 7 right now, which is pretty much where the number should be for this. Now, Houston, you have to look at their schedule. They've had a pretty soft schedule. The one real good team they played, Texas Tech, drilled them 35-11. Arizona State, though, is not been Arizona State of last year. Remember, they lost at Mississippi State. You look at a couple of their games, Baylor basically handed them the game. They turned the ball over on 3 consecutive possessions. Arizona State got 3 field goals out of it and came out the winner. TCU was dominating them early, but they rallied and came back and won. I thought they played a good game against Texas Tech, but Tech didn't have their quarterback last week either. So not blown away with Arizona State, but they're at home, at night, in the desert. So I think Arizona State wins the game. The margin I'm a little questionable on, but I think the lines makers got it right at 7.
BYU taking their undefeated record on the road to Ames to take on Iowa State. This, to me, Phil, seems like a very bad situation for BYU. You had the emotional win last week. Kind of reminds you of West Virginia and Pitt earlier in the year.
Yeah.
You get the win over Pitt. You go on the road against a team that's coming off a bye, off a loss. That's the same situation here. Iowa State off a bye, really off of 2 losses. Bad situation here for the Cougs.
It is. I'm getting a little tired picking against BYU and having them beat me for crying. You go back 2 weeks ago against Arizona. I felt really good. 5 minutes ago in the game, Arizona's up by 10 points. Somehow, some way, at the end of the game, in overtime, BYU wins that thing. And then, as mentioned last week, Utah maybe a little too confident, getting stopped on downs 3 times deep in Utah territory or in BYU territory, and they were able to, despite being outgained by 102 yards, win the game. But, here's the thing with Iowa State, and when I went over to the team with Coach Campbell this year, he said, our defense was really beat up last year, Phil. And then as we went over the roster, yeah, they were. They were missing like 6, 7 starters down the stretch when they lost those couple of games against Texas Tech and Kansas. But they rebounded after that. They did lose their top 2 DBs, but they had good depth in the secondary, and Campbell's going to find the replacements. He overcame it last year, and I think he'll overcome it this year. I love the fact that Iowa State's off a bye because that allowed them an extra week to get healthy. I think in that Cincinnati game, they were missing like 6 defensive starters. They should be healthier for this one. Campbell's had an extra week to work the replacements in there. So I think it's a really good situation this week for Iowa State. I do like Iowa State, but I tell you what, after I wouldn't put it up as one of my top plays of the week because I don't want BYU to beat me again.
Okay, now to this week's main event, Phil. You have TCU coming to Morgantown at 5-2. You kind of felt that TCU Baylor matchup last week with the winner was going to have some kind of springboard for some second half opportunities in the Big 12 title race. Josh Hoover playing really good football at the quarterback spot for TCU as they roll in. West Virginia is still trying to get healthy. Scotty Fox is going to get his second start at the quarterback spot is what it looks like. TCU laying a very heavy number at 15.5. It's under the lights. It's a cold rush game. The fans figure to be engaged. They've been starved for a true night game. What do you see playing out in Morgantown with the Frogs and the Mountaineers?
Is game day going to be there, Jed?
We'll be there for this one. Yeah, they were there in 2014 for the TCU game, but not for this one.
Okay. Yeah, I think West Virginia is a scrappy team. Rich Rod's teams are always scrappy, and he's doing the best he can. You lose your top running back, top wide receiver, top 4 quarterbacks, top 3 quarterbacks, I should say. You're going to struggle on the season, and they were a rebuilt team. And I think with TCU, Sonny Dykes is a guy that's relied on the transfer portal the last couple of years. And this year when I talked to him, he said, we didn't go in the portal that much because I really like our team. I like what we had returning. So it's really one of the teams that is the least use of the portal versus one of the most. TCU's the better team here. We all know that. That's why they're favored by 15.5. But yeah, I think West Virginia is going to put a fight up for this one. And TCU hasn't blown me away in any game this year. You go back to the SMU game, they trailed in the fourth quarter. They got 2 short passes to Eric McAllister, which he turned into touchdowns in that one. The Colorado game, it was 21-21 with 5 minutes to go, and TCU's punting the football to Colorado. The ball goes off the back of a Colorado protector, and they get the touchdown, then score another touchdown at the end of the game, and it looks great, 35-21, but Colorado basically played them even up. They lost at Kansas State, and last week's Baylor game was sort of wonky because of the lightning delay, and then there was a delay and another delay, and you're gone off the field, on the field, off the field, on the field. Pretty much a strange game last week. So still not blown away with TCU in any game. I think West Virginia can make a fight here this week. Should make it entertaining, but I do think the Frogs end up winning this one, guys.
Yeah, I think you're right on that too. So lastly, Phil, before we get out of here, obviously we kind of mentioned that spread a little bit earlier. 14.5 is what it opened at. It's kind of hanging around 15.5. Thoughts on why that thing maybe hasn't swelled up to 17, 17.5, 18? Because when it first came out, I thought, oh boy, this is going to get shot up really quickly, and it just hasn't.
Yeah, it is strange. I know if you're a lines maker, you don't want to cross a major number, so I don't think they'll cross that 17 number. You can't make it 17.5. But I am surprised the number hasn't gone up. But a lot of times the lines will start moving on, late Thursday, early Friday. So maybe that line will go up. I do expect it to climb if it goes anywhere this week. It should go higher than the 15.5.
Well, hey, it feels right on the money there, and West Virginia puts up a nice fight. I think that at this point in the season, that's all Mountaineer fans can really hope for. Just some competitive football, some positive signs for the future. So, Phil, we thank you once again for hopping on here for another week on ITG, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, a lot of fun as always, guys. Thanks for having me on, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, you do the same, and when we come back, Jed and I will make our picks for this week's game.
When the sun's just rising and the work won't wait, you need the equipment that works just as hard as you do. Johnson Equipment delivers power, performance, and reliability day in, day out. Whether you're plowing fields, hauling loads, or planting the future, our tractors are built to take it and then some. Strong, reliable, ready. 0% financing available for up to 84 months on select models.
Johnson Equipment, farming made easy.
Get all your Mountaineer gear in WVU apparel at the Book Exchange. They're the locally owned and operated retailer with more than 90 years of selling everything you need for game day and everything else you need to show you're the ultimate WVU fan. Shop at their 2 locations at downtown Morgantown or Evansdale on Pattison Drive, or online at bookexchangewv.com.
When shopping online at bookexchangewv.com, be sure to enter code INTHEGUN20 at checkout for an awesome savings of 20%. That's right, 20%.
Back in the gun, Schuyler Callihan, Jed Drenning, and as always on Phil Steele Friday, we round out our episode and for the week with our ITG handicap picks as we make our predictions for this week's game between West Virginia and TCU. Jed, what's on the docket this week?
All right. Well, last week, Wes stood in for you, so you have to live with Wes's answers.
Oh,
that's
no.
right. So let's see how Wes did. Okay. Okay. First prop bet last week. First prop we went with West Virginia at UCF. Because each team entered the game with 340 penalty yards exactly, we simply said which team will have more penalty yards. I said UCF. Wes said WVU. It was, in fact, UCF. They had twice as many, 70 to WVU's 35. So I knocked that one out. Number 2, will it turn out to be a one-possession game? Because we talked about Scotty Frost has only won 20% of his one-possession games. Rich has won nearly 56% of his. I said no. Wes said yes. But you know what? I don't know if I can give myself credit. I said no because I said West Virginia will find a way to win by double digits. I said we might get to 10.
Okay.
So I can't really give myself credit. Obviously, that was a big no. So we both missed that one. And then finally, number 3. Which young quarterback will log more snaps, Khalil Wilkins or Scotty Fox, since we knew Scotty was getting the start? I said Scotty. Wes said Khalil. it ended up closer than you might think. Scotty got 44 snaps, Khalil got 36. So technically, I was 2 for 3. Wes, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want Wes stepping in for you anymore, right?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know.
so this week's props. Let's go this week. TCU in town. What do we got for the Frogs? All right. The TCU defense has allowed 18 plays of 30 plus yards. It's about 2.5 a game. That's the most allowed in all of P4 football. The W offense has 7 completions on the season of 30 plus yards. But that's the fewest in the Big 12. Scotty Fox has 1, Khalil has 2. So question 1, will WVU manage not 1, but 2 completions of 30 plus yards against the TCU defense? I'm going to say yes. Cam Vaughn's due. He has 3. Last week he had just 2 catches for 15 yards. I'm going to say yes because of that. What say you?
I was really hoping it was 1, but yeah, I'll go with 2. TCU's secondary for some reason just hasn't played up to par. I think that secondary is much better than what they've played, but yeah, I think they can get 2.
So yes for both of us. All right. Moving on to number 2. The TCU offense is last in the Big 12 in rushing offense, 128 yards a game. But they did manage 196 yards on the ground last week in the win over Baylor. Question number 2 is pretty simple. Will the WVU defense hold TCU under its rushing average of 128 yards? I've got my answer here if you want to hear it or you can wait. It's up to you.
I'll go first. I'll say no. This defense is just it's been having fits lately. So that combined with what Kavorian Barnes did last week, I feel like he's somebody they really want to get going because that would really help their offense out and become more balanced. And he's definitely got the ability to. He's a short, stature guy, but he's physical, can run through you. And then the other guy, forgetting his name off the top of my head, is it Battle? Is that his name? Battle. He's nice, twitchy back. So, yeah, I think they go over that total this week.
I said no as well. Yes, WVU's 12th, which that's not great news to begin with against the run of the Big 12, giving up 169 a game. But if you look just in league play, we're giving up 226 a game. So yeah, it's going to be tough to hold them under 128. I hope we do because we want to make them one-dimensional. That's going to be a challenge. And then finally, wrapping it up with question number 3. The WVU defense has picked off 8 passes this year. That's second most in the Big 12. But West Virginia's cornerbacks have only accounted for 1 of those 8, and that was last week, Jason Chambers against UCF. So 8 interceptions, but the corners only have 1 of those 8. So question number 3, will a Mountaineer cornerback pick off a pass against TCU?
Oh, I was just hoping it'd be a pick. Now you got to make it really tough. Yeah, let's go with 1. Now I'll go a little bit further. I'll say Michael Coates gets 1. And it might be even a 2 interception game. Look, Josh Hoover's put the ball in harm's way quite a bit. I mean, he's got 14 turnover worthy plays at this point in the season. So yeah, I could see that happen. I could see Chase Wilson get another one. He seems to have a nose for the ball too.
Chase Wilson wouldn't count, right? It has to be
What's
corner.
that?
I'm kidding. I said Chase Wilson wouldn't count. It has to be a corner, but it'll count for the game, but not for the purposes of this prop. But okay.
So Michael Coates gets 1 for the corner.
Perfect. I'm going to say yes. Josh Hoover's been picked off 6 times. Josh Hoover has. 5 of those 6 have come on the road. Mm-hmm. So let's hope that's a sign that he's not playing as well on the road this year as in past years. So I'll tell you what, we have universal agreement in all 3. That's boring, across the board, all 3 picks. That's no fun. So we'll revisit next week and see either we both did really well or we both did really poorly. That's it.
Let's see. So that'll do it for us here today on ITG. Again, make sure to go back, watch Barbecuing with the Beer Truck from earlier this week. We got the TCU preview up. Wes and Jed broke that matchup down. And we will also be back probably Sunday, Monday with the recap of this game. So
Sunday, probably Monday to air.
Yeah. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at In the Gun Podcast. and we will see you back in a couple of days. What was the other thing we had? Oh, the 65 question. I know we already reminded everybody, but we want to make sure we get that in again. Go back to the preview show and put in your 3 separate comments for that opportunity to win that 1965 question.
We walk you through why it's 3 parts. And yeah, there you go.
So for Wes, for O, and for Jed, I'm Schuyler Callihan. We thank you guys for watching. And as always, be an ear and tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you back here in a couple of days. You've been in the gun.
ITG.
The fun doesn't have to stop here.
Be sure to hit subscribe and never miss an episode.
If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback,
be sure to follow us on X at In the Gun Podcast.
Join us again next time.
Until then,
tell an ear to tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast.
This mission is over. It's over.